I'm really quite excited to share with you my new desoldering gun. And yes, I am genuinely really excited. This is my excited face. But before we get to unboxing it and having a play around with it, I thought I'd explain to you first why I've gone to the expense. So before I started YouTubering, I had one of these at BBC. And to cut a long story short, it had a fault with its memory. And I got to the bottom of it in the end, and I whacked out the memory chips, put some new ones in, and it's good as gold. And to do that, I used a basic soldering iron and one of those, a cheap solder sucker, and it worked perfectly. No damage, clean holes, perfect. I then got myself a bit of a growing collection of Atari STs, this being one of them. And not only did I have my cheap desolder sucker, but I also moved on to having a heated solder sucker type thing. But then I encountered my nemesis, the Sinclair Spectrum. Well, Sinclair anything really, including the ZX81. The problems I have with these machines when it comes to desoldering components, some machines it seems to work really well with and everything comes off nice and easy. Other things, tracer lifting left, right and centre. I get it. User error, almost certainly. But it's been an absolute nightmare. And something that I've just got a little bit fed up with. So I got myself one of these. Now, I did a recent video on this, and I'd highly recommend you seeing it if you haven't. A hot air station and a soldering wand with a fume extractor. And I had a go removing ICs with that, and it worked really quite well, surprisingly. But I always wanted a proper desolder gun. And here it is. The Yuhua 948 soldering gun. So what have we got? We've got the unit itself, buttons and things, power cord, the gun itself, which looks awesome. Excited to try that out. Easy access to the collection tube. I won't prat about with that now. Lots and lots and lots of spare bits, filters, a new glass thing. Is it glass or plastic? If it was plastic, who cares? Some different sized nozzles for the gun. A rubber thing. No idea what that's for. No idea whatsoever. And a little stand. Looking at the front of the display then, there's really not much to it. Let's power it on. So reading the instructions, which I've done, I've already had it on briefly, so it's already quite warm. And we've got a little dot there, and apparently once that gets up to temperature and it's happy, it'll start flashing. And I think that might be in the preheating mode. I'll just pull the trigger. Yeah, so it's still waiting for the nozzle to heat up properly. But whilst we're waiting for that, we've got the up and down temperatures as you'd expect. With the clicky buttons, I prefer a dial, but the clicky buttons are fine. And then we've got a mode selector, which we can choose how long in minutes before it goes to sleep. And that's telling me that the machine's now warmed up. If I just pull the trigger, yeah, it's good to go. Right, so going back to, so that's a sleep function in minutes, up or down, and that's a power off function, up or down in minutes, before the machine goes to sleep. And then last press, we've got between degrees and Fahrenheit. So let's have a good look at the gun. One thing I hadn't realised until I read the instructions, and I'll come to that in a second, but what I do like about this is the cables are super, super flexible. So whenever you're using it, you never feel like you're fighting cables, being forced to struggle and battle them. I really like that. Good quality cables to the machine. Really nice. But going back to the gun, now, if you look at this here, there's a little indicator window. And apparently the way it works is that if it's struggling to pull a vacuum through because the gun's getting blocked, this indicator will change colour and it will move from blue through to red to indicate that there's not enough flow through the gun and you need to take the gun apart and clean it, which I think is really good. But the gun itself is nice and light, and we've got a release on the back there to get the tube off and help cleaning. And I'll turn the gun off, let it cool down, and I'll show you that as well. So whilst the gun's cooling down, let's have a look at some of the spare bits that it comes with. Right, so we've got a new air nozzle connection to go on the machine. We've got a spare tube for the gun, which is great, and yes, it is plastic. So that's that. We've got a rod, and I think that rod will be for cleaning out the heating element. We have got a selection of nozzles. So the one that comes with it, and there's quite a fine one, quite a fat one, and an interim one. We have more spares for the gun, the little collector springs. Those are the ones that sit there in the tube. And we've also got some spare seals as well that also fit on the tube. And then we've got quite a decent number of replacement filters. The black ones that go on the machine itself, where the air exits the machine, and these to go inside the tube as well. So that's all really nice. And then in here, I think we've got more cleaning sticks. Which we do. We'll get these on the camera, but these have all got like a machine roughness to them on part of the shaft. And I guess that helps aid pulling the solder out if you've got a load of solder stuck in the tube. And I'd probably recommend that after every operation you give the gun a good clean down anyway and maximise its life. Certainly what I'll be doing anyway. So yeah, so quite a few bits that come with the machine. That's all really good. So for those of you that like to see inside the machine, let's bob the power connector off and let's have a quick look inside. Well, there we go. I wouldn't expect there to be much more than this, to be honest. We've got the transformer at the back, the mains in. We've got the pump itself. We've got the control circuit. All nice and neat, nice and tidy. Let's put it back together. Right, with all that tomfoolery, the gun's cooled down a bit now. So let's see if we can disassemble this. Get this chamber out for cleaning. A quick release. And you see the colour changing there. Right, so I'm guessing. I don't know. You definitely see the change in there. Anyway, I digress. Let's get this out. So, this is the bit we're going to need to clean on a regular basis, as well as the nozzle. We've got the little splatter plate, or whatever you want to call it there. We've got the paper filter at the back of the tube. Now, interestingly, this feels like a glass tube. Or at least a very high density plastic. It's certainly different to the other one. And then we've got the spring itself, and we've got the two rubber seals. So not too complicated. Put it back together. So this is, I would suspect, one of the problem areas if you don't keep on top of it and keep it clean. Put that back in there. We've got a little rubber seal, which doesn't seem to be a particular orientation. There's a notch on it, but there doesn't seem to be an orientation on there that it's bothered about, so we'll just try it like that. And then we'll put it back into place. So all being well, that'll be good. Right, let's give it a try. Make sure I've got it back together correctly. So here's my donor spectrum board. Here's my blue mat. Let's see if we can take some of these chips off. What should we go for? Tell you what, let's go for this this logic chip over here. Whichever that one is. I think that looks really good. So let's have a really good close-up of this. There's a bit of debris in that hole in the top right. But that looks really good. Let's flip it over. Let's have a look at the other side. Where are we? Here. Right, what if we try this cable connector here? Let's give that a try. Could pre-tin it, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna see what it's like without it. All looks good. It's all looking nice and loose. Oh yes. I am really pleased with that. Let's have a close-up on it. So there we go. Close-up on the edge connector is taken off. Ignore the top holes, it's the bottom ones I've taken it out of. That looks absolutely spot on. Let's just flip it over. So the underneath. Nothing a little bit of solder bread wouldn't do just to tidy that up a little bit. So I could go on for hours taking stuff off, but I'm not going to. I've proved to myself what I needed to do. The other reason I don't want to desolder everything is, with it being a spares board, it keeps everything nice and neat in one place for me. So let's get that out of the way. Let's see if the desoldering gun's still a little bit hot, but let's just bob the top off. Still a bit warm as that. And let's give it a good clean out before I put it away. And get this. I'll just leave that to cool down the rest of it. Let's see what's in here. Still quite warm. The filter looks fine. you'd expect from a tiny amount of desoldering. Put that back in there before I lose it. But as you will see, there's holders collected in the end. How do we get that out? So don't want to just leave it, do we? Not sure stabbing it's going to do anything. Other than damage my spring. See it all stuck in the end. Right, I have an idea. Right, let's just heat up my soldering iron. So that's my soldering iron heated up. Now that's one way of getting rid of it, then retinning my soldering iron. There it is. See that? So with a bit of luck, everything else has now come out, which it has more or less. A little bit still in the top. Just heard it fall out there. Yeah, so that's it, nice and clean. So that is what I will be doing each and every time after use, because hopefully it'll mean that my gun lasts longer. Well, I do believe it's still a bit hot. I do believe it's quite easy to get replacements, so that's good as well. So that is my new YIHUA 948 desoldering gun, and I really rather like it. You could argue that there's no need for something like that if you're skilled enough, and there's your answer. Perhaps I'm not. So that's cost me £115, which works out about $140, which to me is money well spent. And it's money well spent for two reasons. The first one being is it's going to save me a lot of time because the machine's quick to use, although you do need to factor in clean the machine afterwards. But also because I'm far less likely to be causing damage to any of the PCBs that I'm working on. And from my experience with certainly the Sinclair stuff, the ZX821, the Spectrum, they are quite happy to break and lift a trace or damage a via as soon as look at it. And from the brief experience that I've had with this, I've not caused any damage whatsoever, and I've managed to minimise the amount of time that I'm working on the joint with it being hot. So that's great. Let me know in the comments though what you think. Is it a good buy? Is it a waste of money? What do you make of it? In the meantime, thank you for watching. It's really appreciated if you've got this far. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up and a subscribe if you'd like to see more. Certainly with this machine, I've got some more videos planned with the Spectrum, which this will certainly be featured in. And there's also a link if you'd like to support me and buy me a coffee. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got something out of it, which is why I make these videos. And hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye for now.